Laakit, do they say, man, you've really, your accent's gone, or your pronunciation's...
Oh, I've never had it.
Roman Reigns storms back from suspension with a thunderous purpose. This time, he's not alone. Standing beside him is Brock Lesnar, the beast incarnate, united in a ruthless mission to destroy Paul Heyman once and for all. What was once a trusted alliance has shattered into betrayal and chaos, igniting a brutal war that will shake WWE to its core. The tension is palpable, the stakes higher than ever. Together, Roman and Brock bring a relentless fury, unleashing an unforgiving onslaught that signals the dawn of a new, merciless era. Paul Heyman's world is about to crumble, a power vacuum and a fractured bloodline. For weeks leading up to this explosive moment, WWE had been reeling from Roman Reigns' sudden absence. The tribal chief was suspended following a highly controversial backstage altercation with top executives, an event shrouded in secrecy and rampant with speculation. Roman's void left the once unshakable bloodline in disarray. Solo Sikoa valiantly attempted to hold the pieces together, stepping into the fray with fierce determination, but lacking the authority and aura of the true leader. Jimmy Uso, caught in a maelstrom of loyalty and survival, tried to keep the family name alive while navigating the dangerous waters of backstage politics. Meanwhile, Paul Heyman, the architect of chaos, and the mastermind behind many of WWE's most shocking twists, was quietly pulling strings from the shadows. Known as the ultimate survivor, Heyman had long aligned himself with legends, masterminded betrayals, and transformed rookies into world champions. But with Roman gone, whispers grew louder. Was Heyman still loyal to the tribal chief? Or was he quietly sowing the seeds for a new alliance, using the chaos to manipulate the balance of power to his own favor? The arena pulses with anticipation. The night of SmackDown crackled with tension. The arena was electric, buzzing with anticipation, and whispered rumors about Roman's return that had swirled for days but never fully believed. As the opening bell rang, every eye was glued to the stage, every fan holding their breath for a glimpse of the absent champion. Then, without warning, the lights dimmed. The familiar, ominous notes of Roman Reigns' entrance music echoed through the arena, slicing through the murmurs like a lightning bolt. The crowd erupted in a deafening roar. Phones shot skyward, capturing the moment, jaws dropped, and fans rose to their feet in stunned disbelief. Roman Reigns was back. But this wasn't the smiling, charismatic leader they remembered. There was no pyrotechnics, no grand speech, no flashy theatrics, just cold, unyielding focus. The tribal chief's eyes burned with a predator's intensity as he stalked toward the ring, each step measured, deliberate, like a lion marking his territory. Paul Heyman's moment of truth. Inside the ring stood Paul Heyman, microphone in hand, visibly shaken, a rare crack in his usually unflappable facade. The man who had confidently controlled narratives for years now seemed uncertain, his composure fraying beneath Roman's piercing gaze. Heyman, once the master manipulator, was suddenly the hunted. As Roman stepped into the ring, he didn't spare the crowd a glance. His cold stare locked onto Heyman, the tension between them palpable, electric, nearly suffocating. Paul raised the mic, voice trembling. "My tribal chief, I have waited." But Roman remained silent, unmoved, a stone wall of silent judgment. Then, in an instant, everything changed. The beast incarnate returns. The arena exploded into chaos as Brock Lesnar's unmistakable music thundered through the speakers. The crowd's reaction was a volatile mix of shock, excitement, and disbelief. For years, Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar had been bitter rivals. fierce enemies who had clashed brutally at WrestleMania, tearing each other to the brink for the Universal Championship. Now, the Beast was here, not to battle Roman, but to stand beside him. Lesnar stormed down the ramp with lethal purpose, eyes locked not on Roman, but on Paul Heyman, his former advocate turned betrayer. The revelation dawned like a thunderclap. Heyman wasn't just Roman's target. He was the target of both men. The orchestrator of lies and deception, finally cornered by the monsters he once controlled. The execution of a betrayer. Backed into the corner of the ring, Heyman's lips moved silently, pleading without sound. But there was no mercy tonight. Roman advanced with the calculated fury of a vengeful king, grabbing Heyman by the collar and yanking him forward like a man settling an old score. Lesnar entered with brutal efficiency, delivering a massive German suplex that shook the ring, slamming Heyman into the canvas with bone-crushing force. The crowd gasped, the impact echoing like a gunshot through the arena. Roman followed with a series of Superman punches. Relentless, vicious, each strike more devastating than the last. Lesnar unleashed a barrage of suplexes, his fury unleashed in waves. Then came the final blow, a devastating con chair to Roman smashing a steel chair down onto Heyman's motionless body. The arena fell into stunned silence, broken only by the gasps of disbelief. This was no mere beatdown. It was an execution, a brutal message carved into the psyche of every WWE superstar. Betrayal would be met with unyielding punishment. The fallout, a bloodline shattered. The tension had been simmering for weeks. Roman's suspension left a power vacuum no one could fill. Solo Sikoa struggled to step into the void. Jimmy Uso fought to keep the family legacy intact, but the cracks in the foundation were glaring. Behind the scenes, rumors swirled like a storm. Paul Heyman, once the trusted advisor, had been seen whispering with dangerous new allies, shifting loyalties that threatened the bloodline's cohesion. The trust that once bound them began to erode. Roman Reigns watched silently from the shadows, waiting for the right moment to strike. That moment came on SmackDown. The return of the King. As the lights dimmed and silence fell over the crowd, Roman Reigns made his return. The tribal chief's entrance was devoid of grandeur, no smiles, no gestures of camaraderie. Only a cold, unforgiving stare that spoke volumes. He walked like a king reclaiming his throne, the weight of his absence replaced by an aura of undeniable authority. Paul Heyman, nervously clutching the microphone, attempted to greet Roman with the reverence of old. But Roman's silence was deafening. No words were exchanged, only a heavy tension that suffocated the air. Then Lesnar's music shattered the moment. An unholy alliance forged in fury. Brock Lesnar's arrival wasn't just a shocking reunion, it was a thunderous declaration of dominance. The bitter rivalry that had once defined these two titans of WWE was now buried beneath a new, darker pact. An unholy alliance born not from friendship or trust, but from an unrelenting thirst for ruthless control. Together, Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar emerged as an unstoppable empire, a monstrous force of raw power and calculated destruction. The air itself seemed to crackle with electricity as they stood side by side, a living embodiment of dominance that sent a chill through the very soul of WWE. The message was unmistakable. No one, not even the wisest, most cunning figures like Paul Heyman, was beyond their reach. For Lesnar, this wasn't just an alliance, it was closure, a brutal severance of the ties that had once bound him to Heyman's masterful manipulation. A family divided backstage, the fallout was immediate and raw. The camera captured the haunted faces of Solo Sikoa and Jimmy Uso, standing together but worlds apart. Their expressions were etched with disbelief and confusion, eyes wide as they watched their once unshakable family crumble like ancient ruins beneath Roman's iron will. The bloodline, once a fortress of unity and pride, was now splintered, fractured by betrayal and fear. The brotherhood, which had carried the legacy of their ancestors, was being reshaped, remolded by a king who refused to tolerate weakness or dissent. This wasn't some sentimental homecoming or a triumphant return to familiar ground. No, this was a purge, a calculated cleansing of those who no longer fit into Roman's vision. He wasn't coming back to rejoin the family. He was back to reclaim it, with ruthless force, and anyone who stood in his way would be crushed beneath the weight of his wrath. The new era begins. The entire WWE locker room felt the seismic tremors of this shocking upheaval. Champions who once strode the halls with swagger now moved cautiously, eyes flickering with a new wariness. Contenders recalibrated their plans, calculating their moves with fresh caution as they wondered who would be next on Roman's cold, merciless hit list. Was this alliance with Lesnar a fleeting convenience, a temporary truce born of necessity? Or was it the dawning of a terrifying new era, one where the tribal chief and the beast incarnate ruled unopposed? The answer lay somewhere in the shadows, but one thing was certain. WWE had already been changed forever, the rules rewritten under the iron fist of this deadly duo. The storm is far from over. Roman Reigns has returned, colder, deadlier, and more ruthless than ever before. Standing shoulder to shoulder with Brock Lesnar, he is no longer just a king, but a relentless warrior, a vengeful force of nature ready to burn WWE to the ground if it means holding on to absolute control. The storm that began with his return has barely begun to rage. The WWE Universe holds its breath, knowing deep down that nothing will ever be the same again.